Hello everyone. Let's begin the new topic, support reactions. Here going to see, yes, of course, already you have seen what are the free body diagrams. Here also we to analyze or to find the support reactions, we have to draw the free body diagrams. Next, the types of supports and reactions, types of beams, and various types of loads. These are all we are going to see in this session. Yes, what is free body? So if we have to analyze the forces acting on the lamp, then what we have to do? Remove the wall connected to it and represent the forces acting on the cable. This is the first step we do, right? As we know that cables are subjected only to tensile forces. Tensile forces are the forces which are acting away from the body. So the diagram which is isolated, the contact surfaces are the supports acting on it and showing all the forces, external as well as the internal forces acting on it is called as the free body diagram. So in order to analyze the forces on the lamp, what we do? We represent the tensile forces in the cables. One side it is TOQ, another side let's name it as TOP, along with the weight of the lamp. This is the free body diagram of the lamp, removing all the supports or the contact surfaces, but showing all the forces, both external as well as internal forces acting on the body are is called as the free body diagram. So what is support reaction? Let us consider a boy sitting on a chair watching TV. Here what you are seeing, his weight is supported by the chair. That means it does not allow him to fall down. It offers resistance to that vertical movement in form of the reaction. That support can be wall, floor, hinge, door, or any rod, cable, etc. Support means that structure is either fixed at ground or fixed at some other structure so that it restricts the motion of the structure by offering resistance in the form of reactions, so that here you can see the weight and the reactions, they act in opposite directions. They will be equal in magnitude, opposite direction, hence the boy is in equilibrium, we can say. Okay, so support provides restrictions and reduces number of degree of freedom. What the degree of freedom means, the ways or the direction in which the body can freely rotate. If it is the three-dimensional object we are considering, then there will be 6 degrees of freedom. Here we are considering only the two-dimensional problems. So the object has 3 degrees of freedom. It can move along the x direction, that is called as the translation motion. It can move along the y direction, and it can rotate in the z plane, or it can rotate in the z direction, that is the rotation in xy plane. So in two-dimensional we can consider two types of motion, translational motion and the rotational motion. Translational motion will be in two mutually perpendicular direction, any x and y mutual perpendicular direction. Usually we refer it as horizontal and vertical direction. Okay. So if the body, if it has not supported, it is free to move in all these three, free to have these all three motions. But when the support is given, some or other kind of motion is restricted by offering the reactions. It restricts the degree, support restricts the degree of freedom and makes the structure stable. If you see the left hand side diagram, we can say that the object is unstable just by giving some push. It may fall down. But the right side diagram, it is given some kind of the support, so the motion is restricted by the support. We can say that it is stable as the degree of freedom is restricted. So support offers the restriction of motion. Without support, any structure is liable to be unstable or to fall down, or for the liable to motion, any kind of motion, but support provides constraints. In this diagram, you can see a stone or the rock is resting on a floor, but the rock is, you can say the rock is in equilibrium by an extra support. The prop provided another side. So both the reactions from the floor as well as from the prop keeps the rock in equilibrium. If we remove that prop, then the rock may fall down. The right hand side shows you the free body diagram. That is the self weight of the rock, the reaction from the floor, that is one of the support that is offering the reaction, and the reaction from the prop. Both these reactions matches the weight, magnitude of the self weight, and keeps the body in equilibrium. It does not allow it to fall down. Okay. The different types of supports. You are seeing the roller support. Roller support allows translation in one direction. Roller support, it offers resistance to motion only in one direction, that is in vertical direction. There is no opposition for the rotation. It is free to rotate as well as it is free for the horizontal motion also. The translation in vertical direction is restricted. Here only one vertical reaction is offered by the roller support. It can be represented in any of these forms, and the reaction, only one reaction, vertical reaction. So the vertical translation motion or else the Y direction translation motion is restricted by the roller support. So in the free body diagram, if we have to remove this support, we show the reaction by the vertical in the vertical direction, but there will be, you can see there is no reaction in the horizontal direction because the object is free to move in horizontal direction. There will be no movement, there will be no moment because the object is again free to rotate at this point. Roller support does not allow the motion in the vertical direction, but it allows the motion in horizontal direction as well as it is allows the rotation. So only the restriction direction motion will be shown by the reaction. So in case of the roller support, you have to remove the roller support and represent it by only by the vertical reaction. Okay. Next is the simple support. It is actually, you can say, the imaginary support. We theoretically, there is no, practically it is not of any use. Beam simply rests on the support, simple support. There is no connection between the beam and the support. Yes, here also it is also similar to roller support, you can say. There is no restraint. There is restraint for the vertical forces but not for the horizontal forces, as well as it is free to rotate, but the it can be provided only below the object. That means it restricts only the vertical reaction, but the roller support, if it is the reaction is perpendicular to the line of contact, it can offer resistance in the horizontal direction if it is provided horizontally. Okay. So here the simple support, it can offer only the resistance for the vertical motion. So only one reaction at the point of simple support, that is always the vertical reaction. Only one vertical translation. Here you can see the rocks are as the simple support. The object beam type rocks are resting on the other vertical supported rocks. This you can cite it as the simple support. Next is the hinged support. It is also called as pinned support. Pinned support allows rotation, free rotation, but it does not allow linear motion. It restricts the translatory motion. Okay, hinged support, only free motion is the motion in rotational direction, but no translatory motion, no linear motion. How it restricts the translation? That is by applying reaction in those directions. This is how we represent the hinged support or the pinned support. So there is no restriction for the rotation. There is restriction for the only for the translation motion. So the reactions will be only in the vertical and horizontal direction. There is no linear motion, that is the translatory motion. So reactions will be both horizontal and the vertical direction. You have to show the reaction as it restricts the horizontal motion as well as the vertical motion. There will be no reaction in the moment direction, that is the rotational direction at the support, as the hinge allows the free rotation. The best The member supported by the pin support would not be able to move up or down, but would be able to rotate. A best example I can say is, as I have already told in the class, the best example for the hinge support is the door. Hinge support allows rotation to occur, but no translation. So in the door you can open, but you cannot move it either upward, downward, rightward, leftward, but you can rotate it. So the hinge provides the rotational motion but no linear motion. So the hinged support offers two reactions. One is the horizontal reaction and the other is the vertical reactions. It is also called as the pinned support. It is usually represented in this form. Next comes the fixed support. What is fixed support? Fixed support, it restricts all degree of freedom. It does not allow translation. It does not allow rotation. No linear motion, no rotation. So consider a fixed support here. How it restricts the translation? It restricts the translations by applying forces in that direction, that is two translatory motion, horizontal motion as well as the vertical motion. By showing the reactions, it offers the resistance to that motion. So those two reactions, and that means the support restricts the translation in the x direction by applying the reaction in the x direction, as well as it restricts the vertical motion by applying the reaction in the y direction. So the restriction in the translation is due to these reaction forces, both horizontal and vertical reactions. But this support will also restrict the rotation. How the rotation is restricted? Rotation is restricted by applying a reaction moment in a particular direction. This is the reaction moment. By applying the reaction moment, it restricts the rotation motion. So if we have to remove this support, then this support has to be represented by two reaction force and one moment. So fixed support offers three reactions, combination of the three forces, two forces and a moment. All the type of motions are restricted. All the degree of freedom at this point is restricted for the fixed support. Okay, already told, fixed support are restrained against both rotation and translation, so they can resist any type of force or moment. So there will be, in the case of the fixed support, there will be three reactions: horizontal, vertical and moment. Okay. So these are the types of the supports: simple support, roller support, hinged or pinned support and the fixed support. Depending upon the kinds of the support, we classify the beams. So, okay, this is how we represent the fixed support. So what are the beams? Beams are the structural members whose length is considerably greater than the cross-sectional area. Okay, they are subjected to many types of forces: vertical, lateral, couple, etc. They resist the bending due to the support of the beams resist the bending due to these loads. Okay, this is the beam. Several loads are acting on it. The supports provided at the ends, if the only support is not provided, the bending will be too much, in which the structural element may fail. In order to avoid the bending, excessive bending, we provide the supports. The support offers resistance to bending. Okay. So what are the types of the beams? Depending upon the types of the supports, we classify the beams as the simply supported beam. If the ends of the beams are simply rested on the support, simple support, they are called as the simply supported beam. We know that only one reaction for the simple support. So if at both the ends of the beam there are simple support, it offers two reaction for that particular beam, one at each end. Okay, and the simply supported beam can resist only vertical forces. It cannot be subjected to any other kind of forces. Okay. Here you are seeing the beam as the support. It is classified as the beam with one end hinged and the other on roller support. These type of beams can be, because the hinged support can resist the horizontal motion also, it can be subjected to any kind of forces, vertical, inclined, moment, any kind of forces. So here you can see one end, the left end is hinged support. We know that the hinged support offers two reactions, roller support, right end is with the roller support. Roller support offers three reactions. So this is subjected to three reactions, two at the hinged supported end and one vertical reaction at the roller supported end. Next is the overhanging beam. If the beam is projected beyond the supported end, it is called as the overhanging beam. If it is projected only one side beyond the beam, it is called as the one-sided overhanging beam or the single overhanging beam. If it is projected beyond the supports on both the sides of the beams, then it is called as the double overhanging beams. Next is the cantilever beam. So the cantilever beam is the beam with which one end fixed and the other end is free. So we know that the fixed end offers three reactions, both the horizontal, vertical and the moment. It restricts all the three kinds of motion. Another is the propped cantilever, that is one extra support, simple support or the roller support is provided at the free end of the cantilever beam. It is called as the propped cantilever. Again, at the fixed end, there will be three reactions, one reaction at the simply supported or the roller supported end. Okay. If the both ends are hinged, then it is called as the both ends hinged beam. As we know, hinged support has two reactions. So for this kind of beam, there will be totally four reactions, two at each end. Continuous beam, if the beam has more than two supports, then it is called as the continuous beam. The beam can have four supports, five supports, etc. More than, if any beam has more than two supports, it is called as the continuous beam. Another one more kind of beam is there. Here I haven't shown it. So that is, you can say, the fixed beam. Okay, if both the ends of the beams are fixed, then we can say it as the fixed beam. This is the fixed beam. If both the ends of the beams are fixed, then it is fixed beam. It offers, we know that at the fixed end there will be three reactions totally. So here three at each end, there will be totally six reactions for the fixed beam. So these are the various types of beams. So let's see what are the types of the loads acting on these beams. Know that the beams are subjected to various types of the loads and the beam resists these loadings or rather the supports of the beams resist these loadings. The first one is the point load or the concentrated load. So you can see in the diagram, if the load is concentrated at a point, it is called as point load. The load is concentrated at a point. For example, you can see the nail, it is acting at a point, the force is applied at a point, so you can say it as the point load. Here the simply supported beam subjected to a point load. If the load is, usually for the calculation we assume all the loads as the point loads. We take the point of concentration as the point where the load is acting. So next type of load is the distributed load. If the force is spread over an area of considerable length which cannot be neglected, is called as a distributed force. As I already told, we calculate the resultant of this load and assume that this distributed load actually is concentrated at a point of the center of gravity of that particular area over which the distributed load is acting. Okay, so there are, let's see the basic types of loads. First one is uniformly distributed load, that is also usually named as UDL. So what is uniformly distributed load? If the load or the intensity of load is uniform throughout the span, if the load is distributed uniformly over the length, it is called as uniformly distributed load. At any section, you get the same intensity of the load per each meter. There is the intensity of the loading, each unit length intensity of the loading is same. So the unit of the UDL is W Newton per meter, and the if you have the equivalent load, if you have to convert it to the equivalent load, then it is the its resultant load acts at the center point. The total intensity of the UDL, if you multiply the intensity of the load, that is W, by the length over which it has been spread out, W into L is the resultant of the UDL, or the total intensity of the uniformly distributed load, and you can see it acts at the center. If it has been spread over a length of L, then from either side of the beam it is at a distance of L by 2 and L by 2. This is the uniformly distributed load. Uniformly distributed load is also another type, you can say it as the rectangular load. Okay, so same thing, if it is spread out in the form of the rectangle, it can be represented, that UDL can be represented like this or in the previously shown. So here also the equivalent load is nothing but W into L. You can see that that is nothing but the area of this rectangle. Height of the rectangle is W, width of the rectangle is L. So the total intensity of the loading is nothing but W into L. It is at a distance of L by 2 from either end over which it has been spread out. So it, as already explained, it is unit is W Newton per meter. If the intensity is constant or uniform, then it is called as the uniformly distributed load. At each length, at each section, its intensity is one and the same. So just to show how to how to calculate the total intensity of the load if it is given. Here you can see the example of UDL spread over a length of 10 meter of intensity 2 Newton per meter. So if we have to find out its resultant, okay, I'm not going in details about it. We know that it is the cantilever beam, so there will be three reactions: vertical, horizontal, and the moment. So I am interested only in the total intensity or the resultant of this UDL, that is 2 into 10 W into L. See, 20 Newton. It acts at a distance of 5 meter, half of 10 meter from either end. Okay, this is how we find out we convert the UDL into point load, and then we do all the other calculations by applying the conditions of equilibrium. Okay. So in order to find the moment, we have to convert it into point load. See here, sigma MA is equal to 0. 20 into 5. There are no other loads causing the moment. So only the force UDL, its moment, it is concentrated at its total intensity, acts at the center point. So from that point, our moment center is at a distance of 5 meter. So 20 into 5, another moment acting is the MA. So MA is equal to 100 Newton meter. Okay. So only force, vertical force, when we apply the sigma V is equal to 0, two forces are acting. One is the vertical reaction, and there is the 20 Newton, AY minus 20. So the vertical reaction is equal to 20 Newton. There are no horizontal forces. Sigma H is equal to 0. So AX will be, or H will be, HA will be 0. Okay. Let's see the next type of distributed load, that is called as the uniformly varying load, or UVL. If the intensity of the load varies uniformly, it is not constant. In case of the UDL, intensity of the loading is constant throughout the length of the span, but here it varies uniformly, then it is called as uniformly varying load. That is named as UVL. See, the intensity of the loading varies uniformly from lower value to higher value. So again in the UVL, we can say that one type is the triangle load. Intensity of the loading is 0 at one end, and it varies to W at the another end. It varies uniformly, linearly. So it is called as the uniformly varying load. So how to calculate the total intensity or the resultant of the triangle load? As we calculated in case of the rectangle load, total intensity or the resultant is nothing but the area of the rectangle. Here also same thing, total intensity or the resultant is nothing but the area of the triangle, that is half into intensity is W, another end is 0, so half into W into L is gives the total intensity of the triangle. And where does it acts? It acts at the centroid of the triangle, which is at a distance of 2L by 3 from the 0 intensity end, or if we have to calculate from the maximum intensity end, it is at a distance of L by 3. Okay, this is the how we convert the triangular load into point load. See, the total area is concentrated at the centroid of the triangle. So another special type of the uniformly varying load, you can say it is the trapezoidal load. See how the intensity here also intensity varies uniformly, but in case of the triangular loading, intensity 0 at one end. Here the lower intensity is W1. If you consider, it varies from the lower intensity W1 to higher intensity W2. This type of UVL is called as the trapezoidal loading. So how we find out the resultant or the total intensity of the trapezoidal loading? What we do, we divide this into two areas. One is of the UDL or the rectangular loading of intensity W1. Okay, from the lower intensity, draw a horizontal line. It will form the UDL of intensity W1, and the another as the triangular loading with the Mach one end intensity 0, another end intensity. Total intensity is W2. Out of that, we have taken the W1 for the rectangular loading. So the maximum intensity of the triangular loading is W2 minus W1. This is the intensity of the triangular loading. So the resultant loading, yes, UDL, it acts at the center. The total intensity of the UDL is W1 into L. Similarly, triangular load, the total intensity is the resultant load is the area of the triangle, that is half into W1 minus W2 into L, and they act at their respective centroids of the areas, that is L by 2 for the rectangular loading, and 2L by 3 from the zero intensity end for the triangular loading. So another type of the distributed load is the varying load. If the load varies along the curved surface, it is called as the varying load. If we consider, it can be parabolic or any shape. So its equivalent load is calculated by the equation of the parabola, that is y is equal to kx square, and its total intensity is WL by 3, and it acts at the centroid of the parabolic shape, that is L by 4. Okay. So these are the various types of the distributed. So here how to calculate the total intensity of the trapezoidal loading, just for the example. See here the intensity at one end is 200, that is W1, other end is 600 Newton per meter. So what we have to do to calculate the total intensity? We have to divide this into two areas. One, the rectangular area, right? This area represents the rectangular area of intensity 200. Another area represents the triangular loading of intensity 600 minus 200. Okay. So the rectangular loading is of the intensity 200 throughout. Triangular loading has the intensity 1 and 0. Other end 600 minus 200, that is 400 Newton per. So rectangular loading acts at the center. What is its total intensity? If we consider it as F1, that is nothing but the area of the rectangle, that is 6 into 200, 1200 Newton. Next is the triangular area. If we consider the total intensity of the triangle is as F2, it acts at a distance of 2/3 of L from the zero intensity end, 2/3 of 6, that is 4 meter. Its total area is half into 6 into 400, because the height of the triangle is 600 minus 200, that is 400. You get the total area as 1200 newtons. So the total resultant will be, when you add F1 and F2, you get the total resultant. If you have to find out the Actually, where does this resultant falls? We need not to do in the problems, but if for curiosity, where does this resultant of the trapezium falls, then we can apply the Varignon's theorem. So we take the moment about the any end. If we take the moment about the end A, what does the Varignon's theorem says? Moment of the resultant force about any point is equal to the moment of the summation, algebraic summation of moment of all the forces, that is minus R into D is equal to F1 into 3 minus F2 into 4. You get D as 3.5 meter. So these are all the types of the loads. Let's have the recap what we have seen in this session. Let's have the quick recap. So we have seen how to draw the free body diagram. What is free body diagram? Free body diagram is the diagram which is isolated from its supports or the contact surfaces, but showing all the forces including the reaction forces and the self weight acting on the body. Next, we saw different types of the supports: roller support, fixed support, and the hinged support. Yes, simple support too. We had seen the different types of the beams: simply supported beam, beams with one end hinged and other end roller supported, and the overhanging beam, cantilever beam, propped cantilever beam with both sides hinged, continuous beam, and the fixed beam. So these are the different types of the support with the free body diagram shown, showing the reaction. Pinned or the hinged support. It restricts horizontal and the vertical translation. So in the free body diagram, we have to remove the hinged support and we have to show the reaction in horizontal and vertical direction. Roller support, it opposes the vertical motion. So when you remove the support in the free body diagram, you have to show the reaction in the vertical direction. If it is given in the horizontal direction, the support, then the reaction would be in horizontal direction. Then it restricts the horizontal motion, but it can move along y-axis. And there is the fixed support. It offers resistance to all kinds of motion, both linear motion as well as the rotation. There is no free linear motion, no free rotation. So when you remove the support, you have to show all the three: reaction, horizontal, vertical, and the moment. Okay. Next is we have seen the point loads which are concentrated at a point. Distributed load. In case of the distributed load, we have seen the UDL, uniformly distributed load, and there is the uniformly varying load. Uniformly varying load can be triangular and the trapezoidal loading, and there is the varying load. In the introductory session, in the next session, let's see how to analyze the beam, that is how to find the unknown reactions of the beam. Okay. Thank you. I hope all of you are staying safely at home. Thank you.